The police knocked on your door, but you never called them. And somehow, they already knew your name. No explanation, no introduction, just, ma'am, we need to come inside now. Dear you, you don't forget the sound of authority when it doesn't feel safe. It was supposed to be relief. Uniforms, flashing lights, backup. But something felt off because the moment you opened the door, one of them looked past you like he'd already been inside. You hesitated. Who called this in, you asked. The taller officer didn't answer right away. He just stepped forward. Dispatch received a disturbance from this address. A disturbance. You hadn't screamed, you hadn't called, you hadn't even moved from that couch since the speaker. Your chest tightened. Can you step aside, ma'am? And this is where people will debate you. Because half of them will say, let the police in. That's what they're there for. But the other half? Never trust anyone who shows up uninvited. And in that moment, you didn't know which side was about to get you killed. They walked in anyway, slow, observing. The shorter officer glanced at your ceiling, at the vents, at the speaker, and then he said something that didn't sit right. It's quiet now. Now? Now? So it wasn't quiet before? You felt it again. That same feeling from last night, like something had already happened and you were the last to know. Have you experienced any unusual activity? The tall one asked. That word, unusual. Not danger, not threat. Unusual, like they were testing you. You swallowed. And here's where it gets worse, because you had a choice. Tell them everything, or say nothing and watch them closely. You chose wrong. I think someone is using my house speakers, you said. Silence, then a look. Not confusion, recognition. The shorter officer exhaled slowly. We've had a few calls like that. Your stomach dropped. A few? So now the question changes. Is this targeting you, or is this happening to others? Because those are two very different nightmares. They didn't search your house the way you expected. No urgency, no real concern, just checking boxes, closets, windows, doors, routine, too routine. Then you noticed something. The taller officer never left the living room, never stopped looking at that speaker like he was waiting. Forensics can come out, he said casually, but it'll take time. Time. That word again. Time you didn't have, because last night that voice didn't sound patient. Has anything been stolen? He asked. No. Any signs of forced entry? No. Then there's not much we can act on. And there it is. The moment people argue about, they're right, there's no evidence. No, you're being dismissed. But you weren't listening anymore because something clicked. If this is happening to other houses, you said slowly, where are they? The shorter officer looked at the taller one, too quickly, too quietly. Then they're being handled, not investigated, not solved, handled. And that's when you realize something chilling. They weren't surprised. They weren't alarmed. They were familiar. What did the voice say to you? The tall officer asked. You froze. You never told them there was a voice. Silence stretched, heavy, dangerous. You mentioned speakers, he added quickly, but it was too late, because now you knew. They knew more than they should, and suddenly the safest place in your house was nowhere near them. You stepped back, slowly, carefully. Can you check the bedroom? You asked. A test, a simple one. The shorter officer nodded and walked down the hall. Now it was just you and him. The tall one. He finally looked at you directly, not like a cop, not like help, but like someone measuring how much you knew. You live alone? He asked. You didn't answer. Because sometimes, he continued, people hear things when they're under stress. There it is, the pivot. You're not in danger. You're unstable. That's how it gets buried. That's how it gets dismissed. That's how no one believes you. Then the speaker cracked, soft, barely noticeable, but you heard it. So did he. And this time, he didn't look surprised. He looked irritated. The shorter officer came back. Bedrooms clear. Too fast. Way too fast. They were ready to leave. Too ready. Lock your doors, the tall one said, like that would fix anything. Then he paused at the door, turned back, and said something that didn't belong. If it happens again, don't wait so long. You never told them it already happened. More than once. The door closed. Silence filled the house again. But this time it wasn't empty. Because now you knew two things. One, this wasn't random. Two, the police weren't on your side. And then the speaker turned on, clearer than before, closer than before. See, the voice whispered. They asked the wrong questions. That's when you noticed something you missed earlier. Not in the living room, not in the hallway, but near the front door. A small black device, blinking. And then you realized they never checked for cameras.